Chapter 10. The Great Tree. It had been about a month and a half since I was rescued. Hookhan had left, Rapunzel's spying glass was stolen by a psychic monkey, and we were all arrested because Eugene stole a diamond decades ago. I spent a night in a cell, convinced I was going to be shipped off again. It was horrifying, and for a moment my mind had convinced itself I was back in Corona. Other than that, things were going well. We were back on the road. I was told about the place we were going to, though Rapunzel didn't seem to know a lot about it herself. The Dark Kingdom. I was also told of a woman named Adira who was helping us get there, though I hadn't gotten a chance to meet her yet. On this particular day, I was thinking about her, and what silly nickname she would give me, like the ones she had given everyone else. Little did I know, my imagination would become reality really soon. We were headed toward a hollowed-out tree called the Great Tree. You can only wonder what kind of creative genius came up with that name. While preparing, I heard Cassandra and Rapunzel arguing again. Rapunzel had been reckless, and Cassandra was concerned. Rapunzel wouldn't listen, so Cassandra gave up. Suddenly, the ground shook under us. We all looked over the hill to see a man riding a rhino with 2 badgers at his side. He charged toward us, and we rode off. Rapunzel was enamored by the rhino for a second, before Eugene pulled her head out of the clouds and came up with a plan. The caravan split into 2, the boys' side and the girls' side, and could literally split down the middle, so they did just that. The badgers chased the boys, and the man riding the rhino chased us. He swung a mace into the side of the caravan, and I screamed. Cassandra tried to throw him off as he walked on the chain toward us. I crawled to the front, sitting beside Rapunzel and clutching my doll. "You all right?" Rapunzel asked. I nodded in response, shutting my eyes tight. Suddenly, I heard a thud, and Eugene's voice came from above us. I looked up to see the boys' half of the caravan upside down on top of the girls. I screamed, and Eugene waved meekly. He got Lance, and together they pushed the boys' half off and to the side. I heard fighting and looked back to see who I thought to be Adira. I gasped, almost starstruck. She was some sort of guardian angel. The rhino rammed it in the side of the caravan, and I almost fell off the cliff. Adira huffed. "There's a child on board," she shouted. Lance poked his head out. "Guys, I don't mean to be a backseat driver, but we're gonna run off the cliff!" I looked ahead to see a steep drop and screamed, covering my face with my doll. My ears started ringing as tears streamed down my face. Suddenly, we were in the air. I saw my life flash before my eyes. I felt an arm around my waist, and the caravan fell from under me. I looked down to see the caravan crash next to a river, and Rapunzel suspending everyone with her hair. We were lowered and started toward the great tree. I walked up to Adira. "Excuse me," I asked shyly. "Hello there," she greeted me pleasantly. "And why was I not told of the young new addition to the journey?" she asked Rapunzel jokingly. Rapunzel shrugged. "It was kind of last minute." "I'm Piper," I smiled. "I will call you Red Hair," she stated plainly. "Okay then," I said, clutching my doll. Adira looked at it curiously. "What is the importance of that doll to you, Red Hair?" "Oh, George?" I asked, raising it up. "My brother made her." "Why?" She chuckled. "You clutched it while you were cowering in fear. I suppose I was just curious." "I wasn't cowering," I yelled defensively. Eugene laughed. "You were screaming louder than Lance when he sees a spider." "That was a war cry," I frowned. "We believe you," Cassandra said. I did not believe her. Eventually, we arrived at the tree, and I gasped at how big it was. "Wow," I whispered. Cassandra pushed past me. "Time to get some answers." Adira sighed and began to leave, Rapunzel stopping her. "Adira, wait! Who was that man who attacked us?" she asked. I wondered the same thing, but wasn't brave enough to ask. Cassandra glared daggers at Adira. "And don't give us any of your cryptic runaround talk." Adira sighed. "His name is Hector. And I don't think I appreciate your tone." Cassandra gasped condescendingly. "Oh, I'm sorry I gave the impression I care about things you appreciate." I gasped quietly at the comment. Rapunzel stepped in. All right. "Who is Hector?" she asked Adira. "He's a member of the Brotherhood," Adira stated. "A group of warriors sworn to keep any and all away from the Dark Kingdom," she sighed. "Dark Kingdom?" Rapunzel asked. "That's where we're headed." She looked at the piece of the scroll she had in her pocket. Adira looked at me. Maybe bringing the kid along wasn't such a good idea. I blushed and looked down shyly. "Piper is a part of the team," Cassandra defended. She then looked back and forth between Adira and I. "But how many are there in this brotherhood? She questioned. Not many, Adira replied. But you've encountered one before today, she stated. Who? I asked. Kieran, father of Varian, she answered. I gasped. But none of the brothers are as dangerous or as sadistic as Hector, she continued. And this is his domain, the Great Tree. He's sworn to stay here to ensure no one crosses these mountains. Gee whiz, thanks for leading us right to him, I groaned. Lance chuckled and Adira glared at me. It's the fastest way through, she snapped. Cassandra rolled her eyes. So, how do you know so much about all this? Let's just say, Adira started, some of us in the Brotherhood disagree on a couple of things, she said mysteriously. All right, Eugene started. So we have to go through Crazy Rhino Guy's house to get to this dark kingdom? Cassandra crossed her arms. Guys, we barely got away from this Hector guy with our lives, and now we're going to trust her and go through his turf? She questioned suspiciously. I don't like it, she stated. This seems extremely dangerous, especially with Piper, she gestured to me. I furrowed my eyebrows. I'm not a kid, I snapped, quickly covering my mouth in regret. Adira placed a hand on my shoulder. No, you're not, she agreed. And like it or not, it's our only choice. And I'm sure Red Hair can handle it fine. She did spend 6 months straight learning to sword fight, did she not? I looked at Adira. How did you know? I questioned. She gave me a mysterious smirk before looking at Rapunzel, everyone else following. Your call, Blondie, Eugene said. Rapunzel thought for a moment. I'm going with Adira on this. Cassandra scowled at the idea. I had no idea why, but it was increasingly obvious she didn't like Adira. Guys, Rapunzel started. Let's go through that tree, she said with confidence. Fine, Cassandra said reluctantly. When I caught up to her, she had put a hand on my shoulder. Stay close. I pulled her hand off. I don't need protecting, Cass. Piper, she sighed. I don't mean to offend you, but you're kind of young. If anyone in this group needs protecting, it's you. She glanced at Rapunzel. I stopped, glaring at Cassandra in anger. I don't need to be protected, I muttered. Rapunzel looked around in awe. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's great, Cassandra snapped. But we need to keep moving if we want to stay ahead of this Hector. Cassandra continued walking, then was stopped by Pascal. She looked forward, seeing a cliff. Whoa, thanks, buddy, she sighed. I looked over the edge and gasped. Whoa. That was close, Rapunzel sighed. She looked up and gasped. Guys, look, she pointed out. Eugene stuttered. It looks like the only way to go across is to go up one road and down the other, Rapunzel finished. I chuckled. Guess it's leg day, I joked. Lance snickered, but otherwise no reaction. Come on, Cassandra demanded. This place gives me the creeps, she added. That's probably because this tree was once known, Adira started, unsheathing her sword, as the Tree of Zontiri. She tore down vines, revealing an older painting of a mythical demon. Whoa, wait, Rapunzel stuttered. The ancient sorcerer whose magic caused a deadly snowstorm that nearly destroyed Corona, she asked. Eugene huffed. And let's not forget his little art teacher buddy who turned you into a zombie, he referred to Rapunzel. I gasped. That snowstorm was caused by a sorcerer? I asked. Rapunzel nodded and I felt all the emotions from that night flooding back. My dad is gone because of him, I thought. Cassandra laughed nervously. You might have mentioned Zontiri before you dragged us in here. It's perfectly harmless now, Adira sheathed her sword, then picked up a dandelion off her shirt to tell a story. Millennia ago, this tree was once a sentient being, a force for good, but it was corrupted by the evil sorcerer to destroy any who approached it. It was Zontiri's stronghold. Inside it, he was invincible. But Lord Demanitus put a stop to the tree's magic by using an enchanted spear. So you see, you have nothing to fear. The evil magic is long gone. But more importantly, you're with me. I fiddle with my hair. Varian used to talk about Demanitus a lot. I wonder if he's ever mentioned the great tree. Rapunzel sighed. Well, it's a long way up, she smiled. We'd better get a move on. Can't we kill our legs some other time? I joked. I finally got a chuckle from Rapunzel, and we traded smiles. As Cassandra caught up with the group, she scowled. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Nothing," she hissed as we continued. We walked into a dark tunnel lined with armored decor. "Where's the war?" she commented. We approached a door covered with vines. "It looks like there's something up here," Rapunzel stated. We walked into a room covered in ruins. "What is this place?" she asked. "Eugene, look at..." She looked behind herself. "Wait, where are Eugene and Lance?" Cassandra looked around. "Where are Max and Pascal?" she added. "Where is Shorty?" Shorty asked. "Okay," Rapunzel started. "We should circle back and..." She stopped, looking at a familiar ruin. "What does it mean?" I asked. Adira spoke from behind us. "No one knows for sure, but many have perished trying to unravel its mystery." I huffed. "Great, creepy death ruins. Good thing none of us know how to read." I was interrupted by Cassandra. Someone translated some of it. She handed the scroll to Rapunzel. Rapunzel read the first bit and gasped. "It's the healing incantation for the sun drop," she stated. "This must be where it came from," she added, looking back at the ruin. "I don't believe it," she continued. "Another incantation," she gasped. "2 sun drop incantations?" I asked. Rapunzel shook her head. "No, for the moonstone." "The sun drop's power was to heal," Cassandra said. "What's the moonstone's?" she asked. Rapunzel took the scroll and stepped forward. "Wither and decay," she read. "End this destiny." "Cryptic," I joked. "Break these earthly chains," Rapunzel continued, "and set the spirit free." Nothing happened. She inspected her hair, expecting it to glow or something. Nothing. "Wither and decay," she said again. "End this destiny. Break these earthly chains and set the spirit free." The ground under us began to decay. I squealed, covering my mouth. Raps?" Cassandra said nervously. Rapunzel continued, and the air became thin and unbreathable. Cassandra coughed. "Rapunzel, you can stop now." Rapunzel's hair became black like tar as well as her eyes, and she dropped the scroll. "Wither and decay, and this destiny. Break these earthly chains and set the spirit free. The spirit free." She repeated the incantation over and over before Adira got up and charged toward her, launching her forward. Cassandra ran toward her. "Raps, no, please!" Rapunzel blinked awake slowly and smiled. "That was unexpected," she laughed. "Oh, you're okay," Cassandra sighed in relief. "I'm sorry, Raps. I was supposed to protect you," she stated. "It's okay, Cass," Rapunzel assured. "Thank you, Adira." She looked to Adira as she approached, a fiery rage in Cassandra's eyes. Suddenly, a part of the roof fell down. Lance, Eugene, Pascal, and Maximus with it. Eugene laughed dizzily. "Rapunzel, what's up?" Rapunzel and Cass stared in awe. We continued our journey. Somewhere along the path, Eugene looked down. "Whew, it's a long way down." "I guess this means we're at the halfway point," Rapunzel smiled. "Downhill from here?" I smiled with glee. Rapunzel nodded. "I suggest we camp out here for the night," Adira sighed. "What?" I gasped. "Sleep in the haunted tree? No way!" I rejected. Cassandra nodded. "Yeah, we need to get out of this tree as soon as possible." Adira smirked. "I'm not sure that's your call, kid." "Yeah, guys," Rapunzel sighed. "We could use the rest." Cassandra whipped around. "Rapunzel, this place almost killed us an hour ago." "And thankfully I was there to prevent it," Adira remarked. "Stay out of this, Adira," Cassandra yelled. Adira glared at Cass. "I think you should calm down," she stated. "You know what I think?" Cassandra asked. "I think you're playing us," she stated. "I think you led us here on purpose, and for some sick reason you wanted Rapunzel to find that incantation and read it," she hissed. Rapunzel huffed. "Come on, Cass, listen to yourself." I didn't want to hear the arguing anymore. It was too loud. I tried my best to be quiet as I snuck away to clear my head. This was too much. I had been walking for about 5 minutes when I heard a voice behind me. "Looks like we have a runaway," Adira said jokingly. I turned around. "Runaway? I wasn't running away. Cass and Raps were just getting loud." "Were they?" she asked. "I didn't even notice," she chuckled. "But what's really bothering you, red hair?" she asked, sitting down. "It's just..." I sat down next to her. "Everyone has been fighting all week. Everyone is on edge. I guess it finally blew up in our faces. By everyone, I mean Cass and Raps." Adira couldn't help but laugh. "I see, but it's not them fighting you, so why are you upset?" I sighed. I care about them. I can't just enjoy my day with them fighting all the time. But it's not my place to step in. I mean, how could I help?" I laughed. I'm just a kid." Adira smiled gently. "Being a kid doesn't make you any weaker. Behind those ocean blue eyes, I see a warrior, a peacekeeper, but most importantly, a friend. If something is upsetting you, you must talk to everyone about it. Like Shorthair said, you're a part of the team." "No, I'm not," I sighed. "I'm some kid who caught a ride so I could escape some prison barge." "Would they have rescued you if you thought you were a lost cause?" Adira asked. "It seems the only person who thinks down on you is you." She pressed my nose, then stood. "We should be headed back. Everyone became very on edge when they realized you were gone." I nodded, walking back with her. I got back up, immediately being greeted by Rapunzel hugging me. "Piper! We thought something got you. Are you okay?" I nodded. I'm fine. Things were just getting a bit loud." "I'm sorry," Rapunzel frowned. "Cass and I talked it out. I don't think there'll be much more fighting, okay?" I nodded. Soon it was time to go to sleep. I closed my eyes, hoping to get some rest, when I heard Rapunzel move closer to me. Great. She was going to start trying to protect me too. I did eventually fall asleep, only to be woken up by a large falling tree. I couldn't see what was going on, and my ears were ringing from the loud crash. I could hear muffled arguing from the other side of the tree, looking atop to see Hector's badger standing there. Tears streamed down my face. For a moment, I thought this was it. Hector jumped over the log and approached Rapunzel, who was being held by Eugene. "And now," he growled, "for the so-called sun drop," he hissed. "Leave her alone," Cassandra demanded. Hector watched as she approached. "Brave child. Stupid, but brave." "You want the sun drop?" Cassandra asked. "You gotta go through me first." "'Kay," Hector replied. They fought for a moment, Hector taunting her. She fell to the ground, and he approached her. "Tell me, lady-in-waiting." He leaned down to her level. "What are you waiting for?" "Funny you should ask," she replied, then throwing his sand in his face and tossing him off the edge. I screamed, assuming I had witnessed a death. Hector's badgers chased after Cassandra, following Hector down. I clutched onto Rapunzel, and she comforted me. It's okay, he's gone now." "Is he..." I sniffed. "Did he die?" Rapunzel blinked and looked to Cassandra for help. "Hopefully," Cassandra said blankly. I winced into Rapunzel's dress. What had I just seen? The ground shook. "Did you hear that?" Rapunzel asked. Eugene stepped forward. "In my experience, growing rumbles never lead to good things." Suddenly, a conglomeration of vines shot up, Hector encased in them. I screamed and ran. The vines shot after us and chased us into a circle. "The tree!" Rapunzel exclaimed. "It's alive!" "Do you remember when being chased by a rhino was the weirdest thing we had to do with this weekend?" Eugene asked. Everyone began to fight the vines, and I backed myself against a tree. The vines were wrapped around my legs. I couldn't muster a scream. I whimpered, "Adira, Rapunzel, Cass, anyone?" I couldn't yell. I was too scared. I couldn't hear what happened, but Rapunzel began to wrap her hair around the base of the vines that held Hector up. Cassandra said something in protest, then Rapunzel spoke the decay incantation. Her hair and eyes turned black once more. The vines began to decay as the ancient tree fell apart around us. Hector let out a scream as everyone fell from their vines. Eugene scooped me up and ran. I saw Rapunzel and Cass jump out of the tree as it sank into the ground. All that history, All those runes. I wish I wrote them down. Marian could have helped me translate them. We could have learned so much. I hit my head. Rapunzel called out, Cass, are you okay? I'm fine. Cassandra held her arm. Rapunzel shook her head. Are you sure? She said. What happened? I asked. Nothing, Cassandra snapped. I said I'm fine. But you're hurt, Rapunzel stated. I know, Cassandra sighed. It won't happen again, she said. So, Eugene started. What now? Rapunzel looked down at something, then Cassandra spoke from behind her. It's your call, Raps. I looked to see Cassandra had put on some of the armor from the tree and tossed Rapunzel's bag to her. To the Dark Kingdom, Rapunzel smiled, looking back at us. Everyone approached her. I hesitated, but followed. End chapter 10.